What's up, Palm Harbor? So today we are sitting down with Dr. Reller, who is one of the owners, along with their father, of Clearwater Family Medicine and Allergy. They have an office in Clearwater and then they have an office in Palm Harbor as well that they're looking to expand and grow. Her father has had the business for about 43 years now. So obviously they've been doing something right in our area. And then Dr. Reller has been involved since about 2016, 2017. And, it's her background and how she got into this position is interesting. It wasn't a direct path, which I think is common for a lot of people when they are figuring out their life, figuring out their career. So I'm excited to kind of chat with Dr. Reller, learn more about her, and share her story with you guys. So tune in. Let's jump right into it. Welcome to another episode of Palm Harbor Local. I'm your host, Florida native and real estate ninja, Donnie Hathaway. I started this podcast because I'm extremely passionate about connecting you with the people and the local businesses that make Palm Harbor so special. Palm Harbor, Florida is a great place to live, work, and play. It has everything you could dream of, from the food, the outdoors, the lifestyle, to the people in the community. I wanted to create a podcast that connected the community and inspired everyone to live better. To join this community and stay up to date on all things Palm Harbor, visit my website, it's palmharborlocal.com, and sign up there to join the locals. And remember, together, we keep Palm Harbor local. So welcome, Dr. Reller. I appreciate you being on the podcast today. I'm looking forward to this conversation and kind of getting to know you a little bit more and learn more about your kind of story.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
So let's start with your family practice. So Clearwater Family Medicine. How long has that business been around, and then how long have you been involved in that?
Okay. Well, Clearwater Family Medicine. Well, actually, Clearwater Family Medicine and Allergy.
Okay.
But I incorporated it not too long ago. So I'm actually, I guess, added on from what was previous there, which is J. Wayne Phillips, MD, and that's my father, and he's the allergist. So he brought me down in 2016, and then in 2017, I started a family practice in addition to it, and then I kind of made my own name, but we're still technically under him, and then, we're going to be making it as like a marketing part of Clearwater Family Medicine and Allergy.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not too long for the family medicine part, but the allergy practice has been around for 43 years.
Okay.
About. Yeah.
And that's your father. He started that, 43 years ago. Okay.
Yeah. 40. Yeah. Like a little bit before I was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why family medicine, and why did you want to bring that piece into it?
Yeah, so I'm actually board certified family medicine. He's board certified allergy immunology. And so I have to bring in like my own patient population in order to, continue the practice. But intentionally, he brought me, convinced me to come move down here from Baltimore where I trained and kind of learn all of the allergy, asthma, immunology under his, overseeing. And then I wanted to bring in my own family practice for the future.
Yeah. So take us back to the beginning then, and how did you get into medicine, and why did you decide to go down this career path?
So that is going to be a long answer.
Yeah.
So I actually studied electrical engineering in college, and my dad always told me that allergies would be cured. So I wasn't very, interested in medicine, but I was very interested in like a biomedical aspect of engineering.
Okay.
So I ended up going to a school that didn't have biomedical engineering, and I did electrical engineering, which was great and, challenging. And then I even went to grad school for it, but it was supposed to have a biomedical component. And basically, I think I was done with school. I wanted to get out and, try a career path. So I ended up kind of just doing a master's and then leaving and starting a job. And it was with a defense contractor who said that, they had some projects that we could do like a medical aspect. It never really panned out. And at that time I was, hanging out with some guys who had done biomedical engineering at Johns Hopkins.
Okay.
And they told me about like a post-bac program. So post-bac pre-medical program,
Okay.
basically.
Okay.
Because when I was in engineering, I had most of the prerequisites for medical school, but not all of them.
Yep.
So I decided, I think I want to help people directly and not, behind my computer screen, which is kind of
Yeah.
the ironic part now.
Right.
But so I was like, I'm just going to do this and take a leap of faith. And so I quit my job and I took out loans and went
Started back in school.
back in school again, even though I said I wanted to leave it.
Yeah.
At Hopkins, and then I got all the courses that I needed there, and did some research at Hopkins as well. And like, there's kind of a gap year where you wait to apply to medical school.
Okay. Yep.
And then I ended up staying in Maryland, even though I applied to Maryland schools and Florida for my actual medical school, and I stayed on for residency too. So
you've spent a lot of time in school.
yeah.
Yeah. What, like, I guess kind of explain like what that experience is like. So it's, cause it's tough. My wife is veterinarian. So
Oh my gosh.
like,
Yeah.
I know, a little bit, kind of what you guys go through in school and the amount of time and energy and effort that goes into, getting those degrees. I guess try to like explain that as best you can and kind of what that experience is like.
Sure. So I guess pre-med is, super competitive, and
Right.
definitely at Hopkins, it's very competitive. And we were, as a post-bac student, we were right in there with all the pre-meds. And, talking about, I guess, pre-med classes with my dad, he always said it was a lot of memorization to do organic chemistry. And
Yeah.
I don't memorize. That's not my strong suit.
Yeah.
So I think in the second semester, I realized this is not just memorization. This is like a problem solving thing, and I can figure it out. And so I did a lot better in the second semester of it. I mean, I didn't do bad or anything in the first, but once I figured that road out, it was a lot better for me for pre-med stuff. Then like the rigorous MCAT and all those tests that we have to take. And so I get into med school, and it's like more memorization.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is not my cup of tea. Like when I was in grade school and high school, my mom would like have to quiz me every night for like history tests, because I just, I don't do that. So I like struggled, a little bit with that, I guess, aspect. And, everyone gets in there and they're all like the top of their class.
Right.
And it's really competitive.
Right.
So you kind of feel inadequate, right? But
even though like you were at the top of your class, or
I was good enough to get into med school, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I guess overcoming those memorization things, I made sure I went to the library. I learned other methods of studying. Like there'd be big whiteboards in the library, and I would draw out like the veins and arteries and how they connected, and memorize the cranial nerves.
Yeah.
And,
Cool.
yeah. But it's definitely very rigorous and a lot of different kinds of learning. And then you got to, also be personable. And when you're on clinical rotations in like third and fourth year of med school, and, trying out, basically you're kind of like trying on all the different specialties. And, personal is important, but then you get on these rotations like surgery, and you're like, oh, these guys aren't, the nicest, and maybe this is not the profession for me, right? So you're kind of eliminating what you do and don't want to do.
Yeah. So you get to
and
experience all of it in med school, right? And
Yeah,
say,
you get a
like, I
little
like
taste
this,
of
I
it all.
don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's super competitive, and it is. And that's got to be the hard part, right? Like you spend so much time in school, like in a classroom, studying and learning everything. And then like if you have to be personable, like if you have to be face to face to a patient or whatever, is that, and that's part of like, I don't like, they don't really train you on any of that aspect of it, right? That's just kind of like ingrained in you. Like if you have that relationship capabilities and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, like bedside manner.
Right.
So they do like mock patient interviews during med school. So that kind of helps you get exposure and stuff, and you get feedback from the pretend person, right?
Yeah.
And I don't remember getting anything bad, but
yeah.
So I mean, it's important, but yeah, that's part of like your personality ingrained in you, right? And your bedside manner or whatever.
Right. So it's either like you
yeah.
have it or you kind of don't.
Right.
Yeah. So did you, and maybe you kind of already answered this, but did you always want to be a doctor growing up, or was that ever like a thought of like, yeah, I want to be a doctor, or was it I just want to do, or was there something else that you wanted to do?
Well, I definitely considered it, but like I had said, my dad kind of said allergies would be cured, so I didn't really think I would be going into his practice or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I dabbled in like everything, obviously engineering,
Yeah.
FBI agent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you name it. I'm trying to think of anything else. I don't like there was, yeah, I don't know, like CIA, FBI kind of was exciting to me
Cool.
too,
Yeah.
but I don't really remember just saying I want to be a doctor. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe my parents might tell me that I said that before, but I don't really remember that being like from, like some kids like day one, they know they want to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
a doctor. And
Yeah.
yeah, I can't really say that even though I grew up as a, in a physician household.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so talk a little bit about like, I know you mentioned this before, but I guess like the practice of like, like family medicine in a clinic like what you guys have versus like practicing in a hospital. Like what are some differences there? Is there a difference, or is it just like your practice is within a hospital, or it's like a standalone building sort of thing? What's up, Palm Harbor? It's your host, Donnie Hathaway. If you are looking to stay up to date with all things Palm Harbor, then visit my website. It's palmharborlocal.com. Super simple. You can sign up there, join the locals, where I'll be sharing more information on local events, local history, and what's happening in Palm Harbor. I really want to create and add more value to you as a listener for spending your valuable time tuning into my podcast. So join me there, keep listening, and remember, together, we keep Palm Harbor local.
So do you mean like as a hospitalist serving the hospital patients, or like something like Baycare owns
Yeah,
the
so like,
hospital
right.
group?
So
Okay.
Baycare, but you have your practice like within
Yeah.
Baycare.
Right. Okay. So I technically have never worked for a hospital practice other than like in residency training, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know from personal experience, but I do know that I love the flexibility that kind of having your own private practice gives. Like I don't have to tell anybody I'm going to take off and go to my kid's soccer game or anything like that.
Right.
So it's really allows the ability to kind of live life and practice medicine on my own terms, as one of my mentors would say.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge plus. I mean, I'm sure they, have a great group atmosphere there. I'm kind of part of Advent Health as well. I don't like admit patients, but that allows me like that kind of, I guess, like I was saying, like a group atmosphere. They have some meetings and things that I attend, and it also helps us bring in patients because we have a somewhat of a relationship with them, and it's a nice feature, obviously, because they're nearby our Palm Harbor office.
Yeah. So you're able to kind of set your own schedule, and
Yeah.
Whereas if you were working for a hospital, and you'd be working with a group of other doctors, correct? And then you'd have like a schedule that you'd have to follow.
Right. And then, I mean, it's nice for hospital groups because they know exactly who to refer to, right?
Yeah.
So I have to like make relationships and know where I want to send, my patients to.
Right.
So,
so it's just like, running your own business, like that's what you're doing now. So did you was that ever a thought of growing up? Like, did you ever want to own your own business?
No way. I never really considered that at all. And honestly, I didn't much consider it until like I was, going to do family medicine, but I was going to do sports medicine after. And that's a lot of nights and weekends. And I probably wouldn't have moved down here. And my dad, like as a family medicine doctor, I can do everything that he does as allergist. So he's like, move down here. I'll teach you everything I know. You can take over the practice. Right.
Yeah.
Really didn't think I was going to be an entrepreneur. So
yeah,
it was, it's a blessing disguise because things have totally changed for me since then. I was not considering ever owning my own business. And now he's, one day will retire and eventually am going to be the owner. And it's exciting, but it's scary at the same time.
Yeah.
And if there was maybe a year or so back, there was like a company coming in, not planning on buying us out, but like working with them to do a lot of admin part. And I'm like, I don't need them. I can do this, right? So I guess I've been doing a lot of reading and researching and listening to other podcasts and things like that that can help me as like a business owner and specifically a physician business owner too.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of coming out of my shell, I guess, if you will, to try to, keep it going.
Yeah. Challenge yourself a little bit. So what are some, what are some challenges? Because again, like going back to like your schooling, right? It's not like you don't get, you're not taught how to run a business, in school when you become a doctor. And so I think a lot of doctors and vet med and human medicine too, they struggle with like the business side of like owning a practice and the day-to-day, operations and stuff. So what are some challenges that you, for yourself personally, or that you've had to kind of overcome like with the business side of things?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely still learning,
Yeah.
but
We always are, right?
yeah, definitely. So I think learning all the financial aspects of it, like where the money comes and goes, your accounts receivable, things
Yeah.
like this is still like stuff I'm trying to absorb and learn.
Yeah.
Hiring staff when nobody wants to work these days,
Yeah.
that's part of it too. That's really difficult. And yeah, we definitely learned nothing about the business of medicine in med school or
Right.
residency. I mean,
Right.
at least my residency taught us a little bit of coding. So for medical billing and coding, like I
Okay.
knew a tiny bit, but honestly, like the allergy side of the practice code's totally different. So I had to do
Oh,
that all
wow.
myself. I had to learn it all, do it all myself. So
Yeah.
the staff didn't know it. They only know the allergy side, and it is a little different in the family
Yeah.
medicine side. So for the billing and coding, I had to learn quickly. But the rest of it, now I'm just kind of doing the best I can, learning, and obviously asking questions when I need help. And at least I have, my dad as some guidance, right? And I
Yeah.
have some brothers who own businesses too that
Okay,
have
good.
been helping me out
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it, right? Just having that network
Mm-hmm.
around you, that support system around you to kind of help you through those situations.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of talk about like some common, maybe health issues or something that you're seeing in our area, and then maybe, or just in general, and then like maybe strategies or ways to kind of like help improve, one's health, like overall, just better health.
Yeah. So I guess during COVID, when we were a little slower, I stumbled upon obesity medicine as
Okay.
a subspecialty. Though it's not like an official board certification, but it does have board certification. So I ended up adding that in 2021, and I see lots of patients with high cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, and a lot of that is weight related. And in obesity medicine, we consider obesity as a disease itself too.
Okay.
And so to help my patients with that, I've kind of started like a weight management program. And it's really not, I call it a program, but it's really not, because it's really tailored to each individual patient, right?
Right.
Their specific comorbidities, what they need help with. Like, is there an eating disorder on top of this, like a binge eating disorder or a night eating syndrome, like things you don't normally think of when you think of eating disorder?
Yeah.
So that obviously makes it a little more complicated, but I think obviously we see a lot of those things. So I try to do mostly lifestyle changes, right?
Yeah.
It's starting with that. And sometimes it's easy as like, don't eat when you're not hungry.
Right.
Right? That's
Yeah.
kind of simple. Like people don't think that, right? We eat for pleasure, we eat for parties, we eat for sad mood, like anything.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes as simple as that as listening to your body and listening to your thoughts in your mind of why you're actually eating something. Are you actually hungry?
Yeah.
Because hunger comes on slowly, right?
Yeah.
Emotional hunger can come on fast, and true hunger is slowly, it
Interesting.
progresses over time, right?
Yeah.
So if you're immediately hungry all of a sudden, it's probably not true hunger, right? So really trying to have them listen to their bodies, which is the same thing I say to my son with, his potty issues. But
Yeah.
listen to your body. It's important,
Yeah.
right? It's something that we get overlooked. And even like, the Clean Plate Club, and I'm trying to work with my kids too on what kind of things I'm going to teach them, because all these things that we learned, some of those were ingrained when we were kids, right? And we have to unlearn them as adults to, fuel our bodies in a proper way. So implementing some of these simple changes has helped people like get off some blood pressure medicines, improve their diabetes, have better pain, like knee pain for osteoarthritis. So like all of those, things can be helped by, focusing not really on the weight, but like on the things that are associated with it.
Yeah. So is there like is there anything that like one thing that you can kind of point your finger to that is like an issue or a result of like the obesity, or is there how do I want to say this? is there like one thing that, is it just like overeating or not understanding proper nutrition or whatever that leads to obesity? Is there any one thing, or is it just, there's just a variety of them and it just depends on that person's lifestyle?
Yeah, there's no way you can say that there's one thing.
Yeah.
There's no way. It's not just lifestyle. It's not, just overeating. There's tons of hormones involved that are, regulating our appetite and everything else. Like, there's no way. It's not even just, that might be what I focus on in the beginning, but the hormones involved like make it really a complex disease process, which is why the Obesity Medicine Association is really trying to but say that it's a disease, right? So I think it just kind of treats it completely different than just like a lifestyle problem.
Yeah.
Right?
And so that's why, and that's why, like you said, it's, each patient is like, you have to design an individual like plan for that person. Yeah. Are there like some common like good habits that people can like practice to, or just kind of be aware of and kind of think through themselves?
Sure. Yeah. Don't eat when you're not physically hungry.
Yeah.
Stop eating when you're, satisfied and not overly uncomfortable or full. Yeah. Drinking, we usually say like half your body weight in ounces of water. So if you weigh like 200 pounds, you're supposed to have a goal of 100 ounces of water. It's kind of a lot, but somewhere around there. Move your body in a loving way. So you don't have to be like killing yourself with exercise. Right. If you want to go more into detail with exercise, weight training is a little bit better, I think, than cardiovascular. Not that I'm saying one is, you shouldn't do both. That's just because the lean muscle mass can help increase the basal metabolic rate. Sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night, that's super important because, lack of sleep can cause increased cortisol levels. Cortisol levels from stress and lack of sleep lead to, weight gain. Yeah. And really difficult to lose weight too. I think I'm forgetting one. That's a pretty good ones there. Oh, mindfulness. Yeah. So, stress, anxiety, tension, all of that doesn't, help, lose weight without, practicing either like meditation or yoga or something, journaling, knitting, whatever the person, likes and needs to kind of clear your mind, get your cortisol levels down and kind of set yourself up for your day or at the end of your day.
Yeah. And maybe that's what makes it so challenging to kind of overcome, right? Is there's a lot of different aspects and avenues that can kind of contribute to obesity and just other health issues, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So figuring all those out and then figuring out what works best for that individual too. Yeah. I know, like, so one thing I started doing a few years ago is trying to develop like morning habits. So like meditation, journaling, writing affirmations, exercise, all that kind of stuff. And you kind of learn, like, after doing it for so long and, you do certain activities for a while and then you fall back and, forget to do some. And then you kind of figure out like which ones work best for you or which ones are best for your lifestyle. Right. So I know, like, for me, like meditation and journaling are some that, like, for my business, that help me the most, right? If I do those, I feel like I'm in a better mood, more productive, and able to be more creative kind of throughout the day too,
That's perfect. I think what you're doing is a great example, and I think maybe like reading certain books that keep you motivated or other sources, like, I don't know, listening to a podcast and stuff like that really helps too. Because even yesterday a patient came in to me, she was so motivated when she got started, and she's like, even like 3 to 4 weeks in, I was losing motivation because I can't see them every week, right? I see them more like once a month, and then we have like an accountability system with remote patient monitoring, but she was already telling me she was losing motivation. So like, what can we do to instill, those new habits that you made and new habits that she'd be making to continue longer, to like continue the motivation. So I'm kind of still working on that aspect of how I can improve my program.
Yeah. It's like the habits, right? Like, if you can develop those habits, then it's just like, you don't even think twice about it, right? It just becomes second nature. Right. Same thing. It's like waking up early, it could be like one of the hardest things to do, to wake up an hour earlier, but once you do it, it's like your body just wakes yourself up every time.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to ask you. So did you grow up in the area? You grew up here, right?
Yeah. I grew up in like countryside area. I live in Safety Harbor now, but
yeah. So then you're familiar with the area. So I always like to ask, one question at the end, and it's what is your favorite local spot? So you got to pick one.
Ooh.
It could be a business. It could be just like a place like you going to the beach or going a park or something like that. But you got to pick one.
I guess Felipe Park, because I run through it like every day. It's kind of my mindfulness thing, if you will.
Yeah.
Like or Bayshore Road, the whole thing, or in Safety Harbor side, not the other side. But yeah, I think that's my place of happiness. I mean, sometimes I get up early and do the run, especially on Wednesdays, and I enjoy it. And I know it's not Palm Harbor, but I really do like that area.
Yeah, that's such a great park too. It's really cool and unique to be right on the water there.
Mm-hmm.
Have you run the Best Damn Race and gone through?
Yeah. I think I've done it twice now. Okay. We did just the 10K in the fall, and then we did the half in what was it, February, I think?
Yeah, February is when it normally is.
Yeah.
And I think they did because of COVID and stuff, they had one in the fall.
Yeah, that's why they had one in the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to run the Baltimore half every year.
Oh, really?
I was like 11 years straight, and then we moved here, and I didn't do a half for like a long period of time. I'm like, we got to do half. So we signed up for the new rock and roll one, and of course it was canceled because of COVID. So I'm like, we better do the Best Damn Race. So we did that, and then guess what? Rock and roll was canceled again because of the hurricane.
Oh no.
But yeah, the Best Damn Race was great, but it is kind of the route I run almost all the time. So yeah.
So it's not as special for you then.
No,
because I love that
I mean,
race.
Yes and no, but yeah, it would be nice if my kids were a little bit older that they could like come out and watch us. But yeah. I still like it though.
Have you run a full marathon?
I have. Yeah, I've done a few, and I did the Tampa one the last year they ever did the full marathon.
Okay,
I can't remember. 2009 maybe.
Do you like the full marathon versus the half, or?
Full marathon, I feel like is a little more time invested to train for, and I think I prefer the half because I can train a little bit or not.
Right. It's not like super involved.
Yeah, I'm not winning these or anything like that. So my goal is, finishing. But the Tampa one was great. I ran with a friend, and my uncle lived right on the course. So we slept over at his house and ran around, and it was great. Cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Keller. I appreciate you being here. I'm sorry, Dr. Reller.
That's okay. Everybody calls me Kelly and does the Keller thing too, so no problem.
Where can people learn more about your practice and just find more information about you guys?
Sure. Yeah. So we're on Facebook for Clearwater Family Medicine and Allergy, the business page. You can follow me at Kerry Reller. I'm starting to do more YouTube videos too, so you can find me there. And then Instagram is Clearwater Family Medicine, and our website is www.cfma.health. We actually have a million other ones, but that is probably the easiest.
The easiest one. And we'll link everything in the description below so everyone can click on it. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you again for listening to another episode of Palm Harbor Local. I really hope you got a ton of value out of today's episode. Now, if you're looking to connect with the guest or just get more information on the episode, then you can check the description below. I'll have all the links in the episode as well as a link back to my website. It's palmharborlocal.com, where you can stay up to date on what's going on with the podcast and sign up there to join the locals. Let's get after it this week, and remember, together, we keep Palm Harbor local.